the expulsion of the Africans and the Arabs from Spain would set also in motion the Inquisition. And one of the great stick-up games in history, when certain Spaniards would tell certain people, especially the grandees, the money managers of Spain, mostly Sephardic Jews, give me the money, I'll go to the gallows. Many Jews converted to Catholicism, practiced Catholicism by day and Judaism by night. They were called Merinos, or the silent Jews. Some of their descendants still live. Some of their descendants are still permanent. The best known of their descendants, Fidel Castro. There's a good book on it, published in France. It hasn't been in English translation, of Fidel Castro and his family, tracing his family back to the Merinos. Now, he would go through the motion of being Catholic even now, playing that wise game. But this expulsion would do Spain more harm than good, because the grandees brought into Spain by the Africans and the Arabs were doing a pretty good job of managing Spain's money. When you expel them, Spain had never had a strong economic system since then. Spain had killed the goose that laid the egg. Hadn't got itself together since then. I can say across the board, maybe except for Cuba, show me a Spanish-speaking country and I wish you would show me a sloppy, economically run country. Any place in the world. If anybody know a well-run Spanish-speaking country, name it. Never got themselves together. Well, all right. Now, another event would happen within Africa, within inner West Africa, the Western Sudan. The Emperor of the Songhai Empire, Soni Ali, would be killed coming home from a minor war in the south. He's drowned when his horse got entangled. Now the great independent states in Africa beginning to fall. These states are not coastal states. These are inner West African states. These states could have rescued West Africa and saved them from the slave trade. They would go on to a height of grandeur in the midst of the slave trade and in spite of the slave trade. Now, 1492, Christopher Columbus setting out for the New World. Now, let's ask some questions. This man has had no command position. He has not even been a petty officer. How then did this obscure sailor become admiral of the ocean seas for the Spanish nation? Who is behind this? Why is it that Christopher Columbus sailed from Spain the same week the Spanish expelled the Jews? Who exactly was Christopher Columbus? Was he sailing out ahead? Michael Bradley and others have now located those who financed the ships. All Jewish bankers who were told, give me your money or give me your life. They were the chief translators on the boat. He was to go to Asia. Why didn't he go to Asia? Sailing up and down the Guinea coast, West Africa, he had discovered from African sailors who had already gone to the New World, there was a possibility of gold in another direction. He turned his ships in another direction. He also discovered that there was a current in the sea. You'd pick it up at a certain time of year. It would push you almost straight into the West Indies. And he picked that current. That current took him there. This is why his ships were lost coming back, because he came back too soon. The current reverses itself once every 6 months. This is why he ended up in Portugal on his way back. But once he got there, and you should read Eric Williams' documents on West Indian history. This is the most underrated Caribbean scholar. Most people underrate him because they didn't like the way he ran Trinidad. I don't know how he ran Trinidad. I know he's a damn good researcher, one of the finest of the Caribbean researchers. And I knew him at Howard when he was a professor of political science. And he's a brilliant human being. Big ego too, but damn brilliant. Damn brilliant scholar. All the way, ego notwithstanding. Eric Williams was a brilliant researcher. Thorough. Documents on West Indian history was only one of the 4 volumes he had compiled. He goes through Christopher Columbus's diary. It's the best analysis of Christopher Columbus' diary that I've ever seen. And when Christopher Columbus saw these indigenous Americans mistakenly called Indians approaching his ship, he says in this monologue, I wonder why they're bringing such small amounts of gold. I wonder where the mines are. They'll be easier to conquer than I thought they would be. He would write a letter to Queen Isabella, sending from this area I can send you as many slaves as you can accommodate. He never thought of partnership. In his mind, it was enslavement from the very beginning. His intentions were not good. He would kill off his own labor supply. He would kill some of the people who came to greet him. For the documentation on this, I wish someone would read Father de las Casas' work, The Disruption of the Indies. Father Bartholomew de las Casas. It's a small book, and you could read it in one evening or less. Father de las Casas is called the first historian of the New World. He wrote it all down. Christopher Columbus would go to him after the 3rd voyage and after the rapid disappearance of the Indians. He would go and ask for increase in the African slave trade to save, allegedly, to save the soul of the Indians. When the Pope would send commissions to various islands, sometimes not one Indian would be alive. But the African endured. If the African endured and the Indian perished, it had nothing to do with the fact that the Indian were braver than the African and the African braver than the Indian. It had to do with the structure of the society. The Indians had a monolithic society. The African came out of a pluralistic society. many societies functioning side by side. The Indian came out of a monolithic society, tight weave, while they existed side by side with the other societies. They did not give the other societies the same integration or recognition, and sometimes waged relentless war on the neighboring society. But now he's rapidly disappearing. Father D. Les Casas said that from 12 to 25 million people were killed. We're talking about the Caribbean islands alone. Not talking about South America. Although he alludes to Mexico and South America, but his main concentration is on the Caribbean islands. Now, Christopher Columbus would go from one place to the other. He thought Cuba was Japan.